You're listening to the Baker Podcast with host Christopher Baker.
Attention, Company 3, Company 2, engine 9, engine 12, Operator 1, time with Battalion 2, District 604, C. Charles. Construction fire, Washington Union.
Join him as he discusses how to engage the future members of the fire service through mentorship as they seek a career in the fire service.
You can show the fire under control.
Good evening and welcome to this episode of the Baker Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Baker, and tonight we have an excellent show scheduled. Joining me is Deputy Director Chief Nick Schuler. Chief Schuler currently serves as the Deputy Director of Communications for CAL FIRE as a key member of the department's executive team. He provides essential guidance on crisis communications strategies to the Director Fire Chief and collaborates closely with the Governor's Office, the California Natural Resources Agency, and various state, local, and federal agencies. Chief Schuler has played a critical role in managing the department's statewide communication strategy during some of the largest disasters in California's history, including the COVID-19 pandemic, major fire sieges, and other all-hazard incidents and initiatives. Chief Schuler began his career with CAL FIRE in 1998 as a firefighter 1 in San Diego. His professional growth included a promotion to fire apparatus engineer, where he gained diverse experience across various disciplines, including Schedule A, Schedule B, heli-tac, and training cadres. In 2004, he became a fire captain, taking on roles such as camp captain, station captain, and administrative captain, where he was instrumental in developing the San Diego unit's first public information program. In 2009, he was promoted to battalion chief, initially overseeing the public information program before transitioning to a field battalion for 4 years. By 2015, Chief Schuler had advanced to Northern Division Assistant Chief in San Diego, managing Rainbow Conservation Camp, 2 field battalions, and various unit programs, including the Deer Springs Cooperative Fire Protection Agreement. In 2018, he took on the role of Southern Division Deputy Chief, overseeing 2 conservation camps, 3 field battalions, the San Diego Emergency Command Center, Emergency Medical Services, in addition to Public Affairs Bureau and a variety of different working groups. Throughout his distinguished career, Chief Schuler has dedicated over 18 years to Type 1 incident management teams, holding key positions such as Public Information Officer, Operations Branch Director, Operations Section Chief, and Deputy Incident Commander. His commitment to professional development is evident through his participation in numerous teaching cadres and working groups, including the creation of the department's current funeral and memorial policy. Chief Schuler holds a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership and an associate's degree in emergency management and fire science. He is a graduate of the Los Angeles City Fire Department Leadership Academy and designated as a Chief Fire Officer and Public Information Officer by the Center of Public Safety Excellence. His achievements have been recognized with several awards, including the 2020 Director's Leadership Award for Superior Performance, a letter of appreciation from the Director of Presidential Advance in 2020, Congressional and Senate recognition for outstanding community service in 2018, and accolades for superior accomplishment and innovation in 2011. Chief Schuler is a member of several professional organizations, including the California Public Information Officers Association, National Association of Government Communicators, National Information Officers Association, California Fire Chiefs Association, International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, California Professional Firefighter, CPF, and CAL FIRE Local 2881. Chief Schuler, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Chief. Thank you for being one of my mentors, and I've watched your career over the years. And, I follow you on LinkedIn, and I try to keep up with all your posts. And you've had an amazing career from San Diego to your current role as Deputy Director of Communications. So, Chief, if you could just share for the listeners in the audience, how did you get your start in the fire service?
Well, when I was in high school, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I graduated. I know that I didn't want to go to college and sit through 4 more years of school. And a buddy of mine talked about this thing called the Explorer program. And I went to a meeting at Escondido Fire Department and I was hooked ever since.
So you went to a meeting for the Explorer program. How old were you?
I was 16 years old and they talked about being able to go to emergencies and ride on a fire engine. And, they never really talked about many of the other benefits of a career in the fire service, but I liked what I heard and it's just something that took off. And from there, I began taking courses and becoming a volunteer firefighter. And in Valley Center, which had Cal Fire as the engineers and captains, and I worked for some really good mentors and some people who taught me some tough lessons, and the rest is history.
Awesome. So from an explorer to becoming a volunteer and then having some mentors. Do you remember who some of those mentors were?
Yeah, I have some ones that immediately come to mind, and one was a guy named Dave Allen, who was a guy as young in my career. He was an engineer, and he was somebody who always made work really fun, but he also taught us a lot of things. And then, as getting hired with Cal Fire, there was a captain named Pete Scully, and Pete was very regimented, very had extremely high expectations, but taught us a lot about what it meant to work for then CDF. And then as I continued my career, there was a pivotal moment in my career when I had been a station captain, I'd been a camp captain and then a station captain. And at the time, a deputy chief walked in named Steve Heil. And he said, "We want to start this communications program and we'd like you to apply for the position." And that sounded like the absolute worst thing in my mind that I wanted to do is, be on TV and not ride on a fire engine. But I reflected on it. I spoke to my wife and I said, if this deputy chief's coming to talk to me about it, I should probably listen. He was a smart man. He still is, and explore those opportunities. And I did. And that's how really a part of my time within the communications program really began.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that story and some of your mentors. And it's amazing when opportunities find you. The fire service found me, and it's amazing when you get those opportunities and deputy chiefs, and they ask you to tailor a position specifically to your ability to deliver public information. So, Chief, if you could share for the listeners your current role, Deputy Director of Communications and Emergency Incident Awareness. So, what is it that you currently do for CAL FIRE?
So my current position, I've been in this position for about 5 years, and I oversee essentially the public relations for all of CAL FIRE, and that goes beyond just the emergency response. It goes into interactions with the governor's office, with elected officials, with communication strategy. I also have a partner at work, Christine McMorrow, who focuses on the resource management and Office of the State Fire Marshal side. But for an organization who has more than 12,500 people, that runs more than 600,000 emergencies a year, and is responsible from the border of Mexico to the border of Oregon, each day is something different. Each day is a new challenge, something that wasn't on my bingo card for the day. And I learn every day, as a department as big as ours, right when you think you have a good understanding of the organization, a program that you haven't been exposed to pops up, and it's a whole new learning lesson.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Chief. Yes, an amazing bureau, amazing team, the largest fire department in the country. It's a huge footprint. And there's a lot of individuals that make up that team that deliver important communications, emergency incident awareness for the citizens of California. So, Chief, you shared a little bit about your mentors and developing the bureau down in San Diego. Why is communication important in the fire service?
Well, I think you have to look no farther than during the Cedar Fire in 2003. And that really stemmed CAL FIRE to start developing a communications program. Back then, we really didn't have strong relationships with our media partners. We weren't proactively communicating on all the things that we are doing before a fire even occurs or during a fire. And I think as you continue to build those relationships, not only with your media partners, our elected officials, but most importantly, the public, is that you begin to build trust. They understand that if you make a mistake, you own it, which our agency's made many throughout time, and I'm sure we'll make mistakes in the future. But most importantly, we're transparent. And I think that is really the hallmark of our communications program, is that there are going to be times that are difficult. There are going to be times that are trying. But if you remain consistent, you never sacrifice integrity, and you always communicate proactively. That's been a big success of ours.
And I couldn't agree more. Being the tip of the spear, and as Jocko would say, extreme ownership and taking accountability. And as being a public information officer in the past, you own it. You take accountability. You issue a correction, or you retract a media release. You fix it, and then you get the new information out to the public to make sure they're informed. It's hard when you're doing those press releases, and especially when you're on the fly. And you mentioned before being on TV or being the face of Cal Fire. You do a wonderful job, and we have a wonderful team, people behind the scenes that make all that a possibility. So, Chief, I know you've mentored me over the years, and you've mentored me just being the PIO and the Communications Bureau and everything that you do, following you on LinkedIn and crisscrossing across the country at all these CPSC or PIO functions and events. What is firefighter mentorship, and what does it mean to you?
Well, I think the first thing it means to me is, rank does not equate to leadership. And so just because somebody's a chief officer or an engineer or a captain does not mean they're a good leader. I think leadership starts with patience. It starts with recognizing that you, as a leader, don't know everything, and you can learn things from the newest person in your organization. You have to remember that your perspective is different in the position you're in today than it was when you started, and that roles are different. While I've been a firefighter, an engineer, a captain, a battalion chief, an assistant chief, a deputy chief, all of these positions, when I held them, those roles are different than they are today. And I think we also have to recognize the expectation on our employees continues to be greater, and we have to be compassionate, but we also have to be strong leaders.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's eloquent and wonderful. Be compassionate, and the human component, the human element. And yes, from your time in the 90s and going up through the ranks, you promoted fast from firefighter to fire apparatus engineer to fire captain, and to the camp programs and at Rainbow, and all the way up through the deputy chief ranks, a trailblazer, a pioneer, definitely the tip of the spear and leading the way for others. And definitely when you're a leader, it's regardless of position, title, rank, or authority. I've worked with some firefighters that are leaders, and leadership can be from the lower ranks as well. So, Chief, as far as recruitment and retention, you don't have to speak necessarily in California, but I know you travel across the country, and I know you talk to a lot of PIOs and a lot of departments and a lot of chiefs. How is recruitment and retention in the fire service as we progress? You mentioned the 90s and how the ranks have changed. What do you foresee for the current generation that's at the helm today?
It's a great question. It's a question that we often discuss even amongst ourselves, because the recruitment pool has realistically changed. Agencies across the country cannot find enough candidates who want to be paramedics. The pay of firefighters, while it's good, is not necessarily significantly above other career opportunities that people have. And the desire that we used to see, where there'd be hundreds or even thousands of people applying for a limited number of jobs, just isn't occurring anymore. But what I will say is there's still a tremendous amount of quality candidates out there. But if somebody was asking me what they should do, I would tell them, forego the fire academy, go become an EMT, get some experience as a paramedic, and start applying for jobs. And that will be your fast track to a really, really good career.
Great words of wisdom. We're seeing it now with PSFAs and EMTs and paramedic programs, and what's happening in San Diego. And in the department's EMT and paramedic programs. It's amazing to see how the department improvises, adapts, and overcomes. There's a need, and definitely with the trades, college education, and the vocational programs. Definitely with hiring 2,400 more. I think the goal is 14,500 employees in the next 2 years. There's a lot of opportunities in California, and the citizens of California need the future public safety servants out there to assist them. So, Chief, you shared a little bit about your time and how the fire service found you at 16 as an explorer. For the listeners out in the audience, why should they pursue a career in the fire service?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you go to work every day with purpose. When you get up in the morning and you go to work and you know that you have an opportunity, especially as a young firefighter, to truly make a difference in people's lives. While some may say that's a corny statement, it's really true, right? I mean, when that bell goes off, the reality is you're responding to someone's home that's probably having the worst day of their life, or definitely the worst day they've had in a long time. And the ability to arrive and provide calm to chaos and be a professional and work with a group of people that you enjoy being around. The benefit of Cal Fire is it's diverse. We have folks that show up and work on a helicopter every day, or a bulldozer, or a hazmat unit, or a ladder truck. And that's just the firefighters, not to mention the incredible amount of positions we have for our administrative professionals. So when people think about Cal Fire, don't just think of firefighters, think about every position that takes to run a village we hire. And so I would encourage you to go to our Join Cal Fire webpage and take a look and find a career that suits you, and you won't be sorry.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Chief. Yes, there's a lot of positions that are available, from SSAs to AGPAs to cooks to mechanics to HFEOs to helicopter pilots. So there's a position for you. It's amazing to see our department as diverse as it is and be a part of that team. There's nothing that you could do in the fire service by yourself, and you know that from all the positions that you've held, and it takes a team. And I love that it does take a village, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes that support all the troops that are out there, all the frontline firefighters that are out there serving the citizens of California. So, Chief, I know you've pursued a lot of education, and you've done a lot with the CPSC and continuing your professional development. If you could share for the listeners out in the audience, why is education important in the fire service?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. As I opened up, I said I didn't want to have to go to college and spend a bunch of time, but I found throughout my career, I was right back in that environment. And, when I was a battalion chief, I recognized that if I wanted to continue to function at a high level, getting a bachelor's degree was going to provide me that strong administrative skill set. And when I went back to school as a division chief, I recognized that balancing raising a family, being a field division chief, and going to college was going to be a challenge, but it was something that I felt like I needed to do. And once I got through that, I really saw the benefits for me personally, of going to school when I was a little bit older, because I wanted to learn. If I was going to pay for it, I wanted to get something out of it. But it wasn't just, quote unquote, regular college. I also applied, and I was the first Cal Fire employee to attend the Los Angeles Fire Department Leadership Academy. And that was a program that had a whole bunch of different agencies there. And it really just focused on highlighting how to be a good leader. From there, I started looking for ways to diversify my career and also challenge myself with the things that I've done, which required pen to paper. And the Center for Public Safety Excellence was one of those, in achieving my chief officer certification, which was not an easy task to really sit down and, for one, to write about yourself is a difficult thing to do, but to take the time to put basically 25 years of a career on paper took some forethought and took some homework. And then I did the same thing with, they created a public information officer series that I did. And I think that by surrounding yourself with people that are looking to continually educate themselves, and you're building this network that it really proves invaluable as your career continues, to be able to phone a friend, to be able to have a discussion, to be able to see somebody at a national conference and connect with them about the things that you're doing. It's been an extremely rewarding part of my career.
Well, Chief, thank you for sharing that. And a lot of your colleagues or my colleagues and mentors, I think of Mark Brady, and I think of all the PIOs that he's taught out at the National Fire Academy. And I think of Eric Scott. You mentioned the Los Angeles Fire Department Leadership Academy. That's on my to-do list as well. And you think about, individuals like Jonathan Baxter with the San Francisco Fire Department, and the public information officers. They're the tip of the spear. They're out there in front of the media, and they have the calm, cool, collected composure. And it could be the worst incident that's happening, that's occurring, and they're just calm, cool, and collected. And it's when you put pen to paper and you're able to articulate 25 years and all the vast programs that you've done, and to go through that process. I went through my FO process, and I think it took me about 6 months, and it was a lot of work and very rewarding. So I encourage the listeners to continuously seek continuous improvement. And just when you graduate the Fire Academy and you get your AS degree, you're not done. I applaud you for getting your bachelor's degree and juggling a family and a field, battalion, and division responsibilities. So that kind of segues into our next topic, Chief. Is I've watched you, and you've been one of my mentors. I know family is really important to you. And for the listeners out in the audience that are just starting their careers, how have you been able to maintain that work-life balance in the fire service? I know doing the communications and all the social media platforms and everything that you do for Cal Fire, how would you be able to articulate that, being able to maintain that work-life balance?
Yeah, I think each person realizes how to do it through trial and error. And I always haven't been successful at it. I can think of many times when my kids were extremely young and the phone rings and off I go on an overhead assignment or a strike team, or when I worked in the camp program, staffing patterns all the time. And I think for me, I had an incredibly supportive wife and who totally understood that this is what it takes to be good at your job. But I also think that, to be successful requires sacrifice. And so I think that the way I did it is a little bit different than the way people can do it coming up now. We've seen the benefits of, or starting to see the benefits of, a reduced work week within Cal Fire. You've seen the salaries increase since I was a firefighter dramatically. So we also see a lot of firefighters and engineers and captains and others who don't necessarily need to work constant overtime and are interested in being gone all the time. So they're finding a different work-life balance. And I think it just, I when I first started in my career, I never had an interest in being a chief officer, but organically things just happen. And I think that, as long as you recognize at the end of your career, when it's all over, the only thing that really matters is your family, because somebody else will fill your seat, you will be forgotten. And if you haven't done what it takes to keep your family happy, you're probably going to regret that.
Well, Chief, thank you for sharing that. Yes, when you're called to be a public safety servant, the family is called as well. And the IC of the house is they're in charge when you're gone and you're on those deployments. And it is sacrifice. Thank you for sharing that. To serve the citizens of California and all the emergencies that have happened at the 5 years that you've been in your current position. I can think of several, and I'm sure you can as well. Our families serve alongside us as we go out and serve the citizens. So they sacrifice as well. So, Chief, for the listeners out in the audience, I know you're on LinkedIn, but if they wanted to contact you for any mentorship or any advice, how would they do that?
Yeah, I think for me, LinkedIn would be the best way to get a hold of me for folks that have questions. I'm happy to answer any questions that they have. I don't have all the answers, but I probably can find out how to get them through relationships, as you mentioned, with a variety of other departments and people far beyond the communication side of the house. And I'm always happy to help. I've been very lucky to have some incredible mentors, and probably the one that I haven't talked about that was probably the most influential in my career is a guy named Kevin Lawson. And when I was a battalion chief, he was my boss, and he challenged me and he made me, question myself at times. But I think without him, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Chief. And on the landing page, I'll include your LinkedIn for the listeners to be able to connect with you and to follow you as you crisscross across the country. So, Chief, as we come to a close and we wrap up this episode, in your vast career, from all the firefighter to fire apparatus engineer to fire captain to the camp programs and Rainbow and Hell Attack and being a deputy chief and your current role now, any words of wisdom, advice, nuggets of information for the listeners out in the audience?
I would say get used to being uncomfortable, challenge yourself. I think at the times when you're in your most comfortable position is the time you have to reflect and what's next in your career. I know that there are many positions I had throughout my career where I would have been very comfortable staying there for many, many years. And when I was tapped on the shoulder to try something maybe that I didn't think I could do or didn't want to do, years later paid huge dividends, not only for me, but for my family.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Chief. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's Aaron Fields. Comfort is the enemy of growth. We could be comfortable and work at a slow station, right? Turn the wheel maybe 70 times a year, or we can be challenged, go work schedule A and be up all night and running calls. And I think it's when you're challenged, that's when our mettle is tested. And that's when I think we grow the most. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So thank you for sharing that, Chief. What's the next steps for you over your vast career and all the different things that you've done? What do you foresee in the future?
So for myself, my number one priority is to continue mentoring the staff that's within my program. In 2 years from now, I'll be eligible for retirement. So I want to ensure that my program is built for success and that I've had an opportunity to ensure whoever takes my place is truly prepared to succeed and make it better than what I've made it. But I'm still pushing hard, right? Like even though it's 2 years from retirement, I got a lot left to give and excited about the direction that the department's going. So there's no stopping me anytime soon.
Thank you. And I agree. I have 33 months left. The whole purpose is to leave the fire service better than we found it. And the fire service found you, and it was in 1998.
Yep.
And the fire service found me in December. It'll be 20 years. And so as I look at it, I kind of have this analogy of the hourglass, and it's flipped upside down, and the grains of sand are coming out. And the whole evolution of this podcast was to make the fire service better, and definitely your career and everything that you've contributed. You've made Cal Fire better. You've served the citizens of California, and to be able to take your program, that's something that you've worked in and developed, and your team, and to be able to pass that off and to pass the baton to your replacement. That's we all have an exit strategy. So for the listeners out in the audience, you might be in the fire academy. You might have just landed your dream career position in the fire service. The both of us are kind of at the twilights of our career. We're now passing the baton to the future. And so for the listeners, we're giving you the baton, and we need the future public safety servants to step up and to get tapped on the shoulder and maybe get put into a position that you're not comfortable in. But as the department grows, we need leaders to be able to lead and to step up and accept that baton. So, Chief, thank you so much for everything that you've done over the course of your career. 25 years, that's a lot to articulate. I can't even imagine your CFO application, the breadth of work that you probably put into that. How long did that take you to do that, your CFO application?
Yeah, that was several years back, and it was an 8-month process to track everything down. And now with about 28 years in the fire service, I'm always looking to help somebody else who's putting together their next CFO project.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I've had a lot of mentors that have assisted me with the FO process, and I'm sure, if any of the listeners that are out there, you start with your FO and then your CFO, and mine took me 6 months, and I can't even imagine 8 months. So, Chief, thank you for the gift of your time and scheduling this podcast episode, and thank you for everything that you've done for me over the years. I definitely appreciate your mentorship. You are leaving the fire service better than you found it.
Well, Chris, first, thanks for doing the podcast. Thanks for having me. It's truly humbling to get to sit here and speak with you, and think somebody may take a little bit of time to hear a little bit about my career. And like I said, if there's anything I can do to help somebody else, reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Baker Podcast with host Christopher Baker.
Attention, Company 3, Company 2, engine 9, engine 12, operator 1, time with Battalion 2, discharge 604 to Charles. Constructor file, Washington Union.
Join him as he discusses how to engage the future members of the fire service through mentorship as they seek a career in the fire service.
You can show the fire under control.